Hey, welcome back to page 3 of the Algebra 3H shadow test. Number 9, we've got 3 graphs given to us, all parabolas, so all quadratic graphs, and we have to match them to these equations. So this first one, y equals negative x squared plus 2x plus 3. We'll have a look at the other equations as well. This would give us a positive x squared, and here we've got positive 2x squared. So this is the only negative x squared graph, and therefore it must match graph B, because that's the only upside down parabola we've got. Now, from one in a factorized form, we can take the roots, because remember the roots are where it's equal to 0, okay, instead of what, just saying y equals. And what would make that happen is if x was minus 2, that would make that first bracket 0, and x was positive 2. So which graph looks like it could have roots there? Well, this one is the only one that looks like it's got roots at negative 2 and positive 2, so that must match graph A, and therefore the last one must be graph C. Okay. The other thing you can do to try and match these to the graphs is look at the y-intercept. So this first one had a y-intercept of 3. This one would have a y-intercept of negative 4, because when you times positive 2 by negative 2, you'd get negative 4. And this last one has a y-intercept of 1, so it seems to match as well. Okay, number 10. We need to plot a graph of this equation, so we need to substitute in these x coordinates. So I'm going to start with these positive ones. 2 cubed would be 8. Minus 3 lots of 2, 3 lots of 2 would be 6, plus 1, that would give me 3. Okay, now if I substitute 1 in here, 1 cubed is 1, minus 3 lots of 1, that would be 3, plus 1, so I'm at negative 1 there. 0, if I substitute 0 in, 0 cubed is 0. 3 lots of 0 is 0, so that will just give me 1. If I substitute in negative 1, negative 1 cubed is negative 1, don't forget that. 3 lots of negative 1 is negative 3, okay? And when I subtract a negative, that's the same as adding 3. So negative 1 plus 3 would be 2, plus 1 would be 3. And finally, negative 2 cubed is negative 8. 3 lots of negative 2 is negative 6. So when I subtract negative 6, I add 6. So negative 8 add 6 would be negative 2, plus 1 would be negative 1. So when I plot this, 2 to the left, 1 down, negative 2, negative 1. Negative 1, 3. It's going to be there. 0, 1, 1, negative 1, and 2, 3. Okay, so you can see the shape this is going to make. We now have to draw it. It's quite hard to do this in a smooth way, but I'll try my best. Pretty good. Okay. Try to do it in one motion, try not to feather it too much, okay, because you may lose marks. Right, and then it says estimate the x coordinates of the turning points of the curve. Well, it may not be negative 1 and 1, but it's going to be close enough for those to be acceptable estimates. It may well be those, to be honest. Yeah, okay. Right, number 11. Match each graph to its equation. So we've got 2 linear graphs, a quadratic graph, and a reciprocal graph. So hopefully just by shape we can identify these ones. So graph B is the only quadratic, so I'm looking for something with an x squared in it, so therefore that must be the first one. Graph C is the only reciprocal one, and that's, if you've watched the clip for this and done this back page, you'll know that those are ones where x is in the denominator, so that will be this one. And the last two, I've got a positive gradient, linear, and a negative gradient. So I'm just looking at the number in front of x on the third one down it's positive, so that needs to be graph A, and on this one it's a -2, the gradient, so that must be graph D. Okay, thanks guys, the next video will do the next page.